Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Fans in Motion podcast, the only podcast that you didn't know you needed. I say to my two friends here, around the world with 80 ways to chip away, it's so hard each day. Say hello, Josh.
Hey, Chipping Away. That's Kelly Kagey's favorite song.
That's why I said I did that. Say hello, Brent. Sorry, I didn't mean to ignore you there.
You didn't ignore me. I was waiting for Josh to finish, and I was going to say nothing.
So I used that one today because down here in Nashville, we have been shut down because of the ice and the snow. So I have been chipping away at my driveway for a week. I know, Ohio, you're used to that. Nashville is not. That I promise you. They have shut this city down. Just takes a little bit of snow. But we are up and running now. We have chipped away and we are hit the ground running. We are back today. We're introducing. This is part 2 of our Night Ranger concert stories, right? Part 2.
Yep.
We had to break it up. We had so much talking about stuff.
I think we left it off at your California adventure that you went on.
God,
I think that's where it left off.
Real quick, man, I got out. I dominated the page there briefly for a day or two. That was not my intention, but I had.
It was nice seeing Andy so active on the page.
I got Brent. A true story. I got a text from Bobby, a guitar player, friend of mine, and Brent's. Texted me. He goes, "Well, Andy Parker's the king of the internet today."
Yeah.
I said, well, what had happened is in trying to find all the stuff, Josh, that I was showing you all the pictures I had in the article and all that, I stumbled across something I completely forgot I had. So in that California adventure, I had met a bunch of people. One of the people was a girl named Erica Bragg, and she had sent me an envelope of all these pictures from different shows she had seen at the Mystic Theater, and one of them was the one I was at, and I just was like, wow, I can't believe this. I forgot about this person. Long story short is I actually tracked her down and said, hey, I got all these pictures you sent me. And then she jumped on the page, and then it became just a super long stream. And then I found out like a couple other people on the page were at the same show, which just totally blows my mind because that was, 97? And here we are now a lot of years later.
Mm-hmm.
And we're still like connecting a little bit, like, oh my God, I remember being at that show. And of course the Mystic in Petaluma, California, which is a fantastic little town if you get to go to, but I digress. Josh, we're here. You want to talk about what's going on in your world? I know it's been, some people know about it, but you want to...
Well, it's it's a little bit how life and Night Ranger and all our worlds are intertwined, and it's kind of ironic that we did our concert stories episode. We released it on Tuesday, and my grandmother, who I've talked about in numerous episodes of taking her 8-year-old grandson to go see Night Ranger, who I've told the members of Night Ranger and everything, but she unfortunately passed away Friday due to to COVID, and it's a real thing, and it's out there, and it's not any, she was very healthy, 83 years old, and there's no reason to think she couldn't have. I always said she'd be there till 98, just throwing out dates, but there's no reason to think she couldn't have been around another 5 years, and it just hit her and took her down real quick. And like I said, she was really healthy, she got around more than I did. And but yeah, it's it's just like we had mentioned in last week's episode, your dad, Andy, taking you to you and Brent to go see Kiss and Night Ranger, and my grandma of all people, who who didn't even know who a fucking Night Ranger was, and only went because the love of her 8-year-old grandson,
Right.
And I was not like 8, close to 9. I had just turned 8. I'm basically more 7, and she took me to a rock and roll concert. And bought me the necklace and the shirt. If it wasn't for that, I would never have gotten to see Night Ranger.
What just for context, what kind of music would your grandmother have actually been into?
My grandma was, country music. I mean,
yeah,
what she liked, in the last, Alan Jackson. She's a big Randy Travis fan. Alan Jackson. She liked Neil McCoy.
So going to a Night Ranger show wasn't just because it's your grandmother. It is. This isn't even her genre of music.
No, and
she loved you to take you to that show. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, like I said, she was a Randy Travis fan. What's a good story was, I really never went on big vacations or really anything. But when I was younger, but in 1988, I'm 11 years old, and my mom and my grandma and I went to Disney World. First time I was ever on a plane. Really, the only vacation I'd ever taken as a youth. So we're sitting there at the Columbus airport, and it's me, and I think it's my grandma, and then my mom. And I hear my grandma just making these noises I've never heard. Like, that's all I hear. I'm like, what is she doing? And she's kind of saying to my mom something, and I figure out that she's saying, is that Randy Travis behind us? Now, this is 1988. Randy Travis is
pretty big.
Is pretty big, and I look behind me, and sure as shit, it's Randy Travis. Now, at 11 years old, I don't give, if my grandma was
going to say something,
Kelly Kagi, I might be more impressed, but I wasn't. And I just remember looking then behind me. Who sat behind me was his manager, who turned out to be his wife. And I just remember her looking at me weird, and I'm looking at her weird. And I just remember thinking, she's really old. But if you know the whole story of Randy Travis and everything, it makes a little sense. But it was great. My grandmother, got to talk. That would be like you sitting there at the airport and turning around and it's Paul Stanley or, whatever.
Yeah.
So, that's just, a fun little story that was there. But of all the people she got to sit behind, it was her favorite, Randy Travis. But, so yeah, it's just one of those things where, how Night Ranger and our lives are all intertwined with, family and soundtracks of our lives. And, there's a lot of things that was just kind of ironic that week, and the one I'll talk about was just we had done our concert story episode, kind of a spur of the moment thing, because we had some other things planned and kind of fell through. And, it was just something we discussed and did. And here I am telling that story. And the only reason why that story ever took place was because of her. So, it's, I got a 3-year-old son that, lives with me. And like I said, I live next door to her. And so she always got to see him. It's just, that's probably what hurts the most is the, she had more time with him. And, it was kind of, COVID basically just robs that of you. And just, it's just, it is what it is. And, but, hey, I had a grandma fucking took me to go see Night Ranger in 1985, man. And I'm
awesome lady.
I'm sure everybody on the page either has a mom, a dad, a grandma, an uncle, someone who you would have never got to see that show at a young age. Absolutely. Unless they had stepped up and did that. So, I have this story about my grandma, but I'm sure everybody else has a story that, my mom and dad wouldn't take me, but, my uncle stuck me out and, took me to go see Kiss in 77 or something. So,
right.
And, we just bring it up because it is part of our Night Ranger stories, and we've talked about it so much in other episodes. And,
we owe it to her to honor her, because she fertilized that little seed of Night Ranger in Josh.
And here we are.
Who knows, had she not taken you, when would you have seen him on your own?
I would have never. I would have never.
Would you have ever?
Well, I would have never.
Would you have jumped off the bus at some point?
I don't think so, but I would have never saw the. I would have never saw the original. I mean, that's something that. I mean, I'm lucky with my age to ever say, born in 1977, I saw Night Ranger in their prime. I'm probably one of the very few that can say that at my age, and it's because of because of her, and she had twisted her ankle really bad to where I didn't know this for the longest time, but she had told me. And she had twisted her ankle really bad. She didn't know if she was going to be able to take me or not. But, she did. It was funny because, like I said, I lived next door to her, so I'd have my son outside playing. She'd come over, sit in a chair and stuff. And I would tell her about the podcast. Like, you remember that band you went and saw, and like, okay, the guy that plays in that band in the keyboards, he was on our podcast. And then, that's the part I'm really focusing on and happy about. And I just what I actually end up doing is spending the next 15 minutes explaining to her, not what I got to first explain the internet and then get to the podcast.
You know what a podcast
but
that's like
why do they call it a podcast?
Podcast. I tell my dad all the time, like, Dad, we do this podcast. You can watch it on YouTube. He's like, what's podcast? What's YouTube?
Yeah,
I was like, don't worry about that.
I got my own TV show on the computer, and that kind of, all right, made a little bit of sense.
He's like, are you on Netflix? I'm like, not yet.
Yeah.
Give it time.
My mother turned us on YouTube about 2 weeks ago, and she's like, you guys just keep talking. And she's fast forwarding. But next thing I know, I'm doing, and I'm going to refrain because I refrained early out of respect, my Paul Stanley. And I'm doing my Paul Stanley. And she's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Well, your mom's not alone. I mean,
and I'm like, hey, people like it.
I know what you're doing, and I still say, what the fuck are you doing?
People like it.
He is fan.
So anyway, so she gets in. She's like,
people
I
like
got time
driving
for this.
by car wrecks too, but
do what?
So people like driving by car wrecks too.
Yeah,
Guilty.
But so yeah, I mean, that's the thing, man. It's that's what's great about concerts and stories and the bands we like, and I mean, we just alone on this page. I mean, think with the passing of our Eddie Van Halen and Greg Eckler and just people in our lives, and it's just
Well, you think about it, and I've said this before, and I'll say it all the time. To me, music is the proof, is time travel. You can put in 7 Wishes, Josh, and probably go right back to being that kid again with your grandmother. And music is the ultimate uniter. It's universal. Yeah, it's there in the best of times of our lives. It's there in the worst of times. I mean, whenever I'm in a mood, depending what the mood is, I turn to music. If I'm sad, I try to find a song that either is going to bring me out of it or let me swim in it a little bit. I don't care. But I mean, Brent, how excited do we get when we hear certain songs at concerts? Because this is what we wanted, and you talk about reuniting and how it's the fabric part of our lives. Is like I just told that story about this girl who I'd met at a concert in 1997. Now she's in the page, and now we're all talking again.
Right.
I mean, not there's anything there. It's just someone I met at a show, and I posted a picture, and she's like, "I'm in that picture," So it's just awesome, and I've met some friends through this page, and besides you guys, I mean, other people on the page, and it's great to have music. And music is super important to all of us. That's why we're doing this,
Yeah,
you're right about like the last great concert I went to was with Andy. We went to Cleveland to see Gene Simmons and his solo band play their first.
I was at that. I was at that.
Were
show.
you at that show?
Yeah.
And I was losing my mind.
I Facebook Live that entire concert.
Yes, he did. And so when they're playing Almost Human and Got Love for Sale and I haven't lost my mind like that in forever at a concert. It's one of the best shows I've ever been to in my 40s, 50s. Let's put it that way. That's the last show that surprised me with anything. And I knew when I listened to a podcast, I think with Jeremy Asbrock, the guitar player, saying, you're going to want to be at the show because you're not going to believe what you're going to hear. And I called Andy and said, we got to go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, when you said that, it took me right to that night.
The thing
I can't believe Joshy Boy is there. I didn't see you.
Where were you, Josh?
I was right in the middle, right behind the soundboard. Like I think if I remember,
right in front of you.
Yeah, we were right in front of you.
You guys were down like the lower level.
Yeah, right on that wall.
The back wall.
So I was up behind the guy because I think he was having some issue with playing the opening. You remember how they came out with the '78 Gene Simmons opening?
Radioactive.
He was having some issues with that on his computer or something. I can't remember now, but so yeah, I guess the thing with talking about COVID and just stealing so much is, the artists that we like. I mean, there's a shelf life on these bands now, and we basically are taking off 2 years of being able to see them. I don't think anything's going to come back much this year. And if a band's got 8 years left, that's a quarter of their time left.
Absolutely.
And it's just like I said, it's just robbing everybody of family members and the musicians of making a living. And
it sucks.
Yeah.
I say to everybody, buy the concert ticket and take the trip, man. You'll never regret it.
Well, you finally declared bankruptcy and didn't pay that bill, so you could say that now, huh?
Hey, you know what? Screw Citibank.
Well, hey, what are they going to do? Come?
We going to take my memories away?
Yeah, come.
I got the pictures right here, buddy. Citibank ain't getting that, buddy.
We own that. Yeah. Excuse me, sir. You're in foreclosure. Give me that picture.
You see how happy Jack was be standing next to me?
He was pretty damn happy.
I was actually a little too excited in that picture.
Well, I'm not. I'm not the tallest individual in the world, but I always said my favorite individuals to meet were Scott Ian, Eric Singer, and Jack Blades. Because
how short is Eric?
Eric's not that short. As like Scott Ian, I looked like, I looked taller than him, and I never, I'm right at, I won't say normal. I'm 5'8", 5'9", so I'm not ever taller than anybody, right? But I'm not usually. I can be shorter than other people's, but I'm an average height. It's just weird when you look at me in a picture, and I'm the one sticking out as the tall one, right? So
same feeling. I know what you're talking about.
When Anthrax, when I was backstage seeing them when they were for Judas Priest, and they just got Joey Belladonna back, and I'd always pictured Frank Bello being 6'5". The world's shortest band. They all walk out, and I'm like, I'm taller than every member of this band,
Hey, speaking of Anthrax, can we all talk about how awesome Charlie Benante is?
Charlie Benante is fantastic.
I follow him on Facebook.
Yes.
He's fantastic.
Do you watch him, Josh?
No, not
you have to.
We kind of got into it one time in
Topeka
in '98, and ever since then we've kind of,
man, heal those wounds, mend those fences.
He plays guitar as good as he does drums.
Sound of White Noise, man.
Yep. He's phenomenal. He's just a phenom. Period.
Well, let's not get too far off topic. Josh, do you want to say anything else about your awesome grandmother that hasn't been said?
Hey, she took, this. If you're listening to this podcast, it's
because of her.
She played a big reason into it. So, and what's great is, we got people messaging me or the page where they're in Australia, England, just all over the world. So a small but mighty podcast, and we got some great things coming up. So
sure do.
And what are the odds we were all at that show with his grandma? That's pretty cool. Think about it.
We knew it back then how awesome your grandmother was.
So so rock and roll, and then I guess enjoy part 2 of our concert stories. So I went looking, and look here, Rock Never
What's
Stops. Ted Nugent, Night Ranger, Quiet Riot, and Slaughter. So I was
Wow.
I was off, but it was at the Metro stage. I mean, this was a pretty big place, Budweiser. I was never there, but I know
Dublin Avenue.
I know where it was at, and like I said, Iron Maiden. I think you can find stuff for them playing there in 1998. My thought is that they probably didn't sell a lot of tickets with it being on July 4th. That is just my... So is that in... I'm trying to... Are you looking up the address?
Yeah, we just say it was 342.
342...
Dublin Road.
Well, it says Dublin Avenue. I don't think it was...
I don't think there's a Dublin Avenue in Columbus.
Well, they may have changed it around because I thought this was near the... Here, let's see if that... No, that's still...
I'm telling you, it was all industrial.
Yeah, you know what this is at, Josh? If you type in Dublin Road,
Hmm?
if you're driving through Columbus on 670,
All right.
so coming from your direction, there's a giant billboard that's like the size of like an office building. It's just a billboard. It's right where the new Crew soccer stadium is going to be. And that's where that address drops you off at, right in that area. If you know what I'm talking about,
No,
there's a giant, it's like 4 or 5 story tall concrete. It's like an ad agency. Their offices are at the bottom of this giant billboard.
I think I know what you're talking about. But yeah, so I think that's what happened was just probably the date, Red, White, and Boom and everything else going on. They probably just didn't get... Now, it does have the name here, Christopher Dennis Promotions.
I'm telling you, I heard it was never booked.
Well, that could be true, but that is more on the promoter than the venue. So you said you saw him, though, on the 7 tour?
Yeah, now, this is where Andy and my memories conflict.
Okay.
Because
Shoot.
I know Night Ranger came down on the riverfront twice. And Andy keeps thinking he got chased out of there with his video camera at Chili Fest. And I think it was a different time because we were right up by the stage and there was a bar and we got to meet all the band on the side you could tell the story about why you got chased.
Well, but were you with Ethel? Because
yes.
she told me, she goes, I got to hug Jack. He was so nice. I was like, yeah, but he wasn't happy with me because he's the one who pointed me out.
I mean, you've got that video. So does the video look the same as the one?
Well, sadly, I can't find that video.
I'm telling you, it's a different show.
Could be.
It's a different show.
As long as it's in that window.
Because we had seen them, and it was like a noontime show, noon or 1 p.m. Really weird time. And this Chili Fest is more towards dusk, when the sun's starting to go down when they came on stage. And the boats are going behind them for anybody that's got the bootleg. I am on the bottom left-hand corner of the screen in the front row down there. So you'll see me I'm one of the only people standing up cheering every now and then. My buddy Doug Davis and I.
I'm going to keep talking. I'm going to message somebody who was also at that show who might have a better time frame.
Such a weird time period for the band. They were playing these Chili Fest and Rib Fest, and they weren't really doing a good job advertising because I didn't know about any of those shows, or I would have went. And it's just
especially because it was a Chili Fest, Josh, put on by Gold Star Chili. You can come down and have conies and have a 3-way.
But Skyline, it's the number one chili.
And then have something to eat afterwards.
So, so after those 2 Chili Fest shows, when did you guys see them again? So this was like 98, 99, 2000. When I know the 2000 one, that one's on YouTube where they're sitting there Again, it's kind of weird. They're in cargo shorts and stuff, and there's boats in the background. So what? When,
it looks like the opening of WKRP behind them.
Yeah. So when was the next show after that?
Gosh, was it the Somewhere in California show?
So really that long, like 10 years?
Because we went to some little town in Indiana. It was their bicentennial. What town was that, Andy?
Fort Wayne?
Batesville, Indiana.
So
and we pulled into this little, like, I mean, it was like stepping back in time.
So hold on. But this is Somewhere in California?
No, that's what the album that would have been. No, that was before the album came out. It's right when Joel joined the band.
Okay, so
forgive me, I'm sorry about that.
You're about 2007, so
yeah. Christian was still in the band then.
All right, so I didn't see the band from that 97 till 2004. So 2004, they are playing Wabash, Indiana, which again they're playing this summer. I got tickets to at the Honeywell Center, and this was the original lineup with minus Fitz. So you had Michael Lardy there.
Hole in the Sun then.
No, this is 2004. So right there, 2004, July 17th, 2004. The thing about that is that some of the photos from that show are used a lot on Night Ranger stuff. That DVD cover, that's from the Wabash, Indiana show. And there's a picture of Jeff that may be in the Hole in the Sun CD, but if not, it's somewhere. It's on something of Night Ranger released. And you can tell just because if you look, maybe not in that photo, but like the extended version CD, you can see it. There were 4 girls down in the very front. So if you look right in front of Jack, you can see these 4 girls sitting there. And plus, I took my own photos. They're all wearing the same exact outfits, and it's the same looking venue. So this is the venue where most of those shots were taken. I was highly intoxicated at that show. So, I was. I remember they put me on the radio before the show. Outside, outside there was, picnic tables and everything. You could get beers, and we'd been drinking all day anyways. And this radio station had a live broadcast, and I don't know, they came up to me or something. I had just got back from Iraq, so I remember maybe that's why they pulled me on or something. I don't know. Like I said, I was heavily medicated, so I just remember the crowd was lame. You had those 4 girls standing up, and you try to do anything else, the security would get on you and stuff. So, so there's that. Here is a good story, though. I sometimes forget about this one. So after the show, the band is standing up. Yeah, you can't get there because it's fenced off, but like I said, this is a huge place. It's got probably a restaurant inside. So they got a dock area where trucks can back up to. And I see Brad up there smoking a cigarette and some of the other guys. And I can't remember I think they'd come down and signed, and they said Jack wasn't going to be down because he was going to the airport. He had somewhere to go. And so I see the car that's going to drive him to the airport. I see him get in there, and they start to drive. Well, I look. It's a one-way street. So they got to turn this one direction, and I look, and the light's green. I'm like, well, if I start going over to that light, it'll be red, and they'll have to stop at it. So I just took off. I mean, it wasn't very far. It wasn't like I had to run or anything. I just had to cross the street and walk, and I'd about make it. And the car goes right by me. Light turns red, stops. I walk right up to the window, and I knock on the window, and it's Jack Blades. And he looks at me like, what the fuck? And I just hold up a Rubicon album, and I just see him go like, oh shit, or holy shit. And he rolls down the car window, and he goes, where did you get that? I don't know what I said. I got my ways or whatever. And he signed. I had two of them. He signed both of them, gave them to me. Light turned green. He took off. I was the only one that got to get Jack Blade's autograph. My buddy we just talked about this not too long ago. My buddy and his wife were with us. There's a group of us, and his wife just said, "Josh is chasing that car." And
did it follow up again?
Huh?
He's chasing a car again.
Well, I'm notorious for doing some crazy shit when I was, on the sauce. But anyways,
it was more like a Lethal Weapon. You're Mel Gibson running after that car down the street real quick.
Oh,
that's really what the story
to me,
is.
I didn't have to do a lot of running. Like I just remember, I knew that light would turn, and I knew the car was coming down. So like I may have did a run across the street so I didn't get by traffic. But on the sidewalk, I just remember I just had to walk because that light's going to turn. It turned, and I just tapped on the window. So that had
to be creepy for Jack. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, and but I got my Rubicon album signed. And
Andy, tell him what Jack did to you now.
Which time? Oh, Chili Fest?
Yeah, when we were talking about the concert,
the time that he had the rubber gloves.
Listen, you said sometimes you do anything to get.
Yeah.
I took a video camera to the show, and I was just going to record the whole show, and I had it, sitting on my lap, and we had a shot.
Big video camera. It was big.
They weren't. Like
it was big VHS. Yeah.
And I was holding it in my lap, just had the viewfinder pointed up so I could see the shot I was getting. I was trying to be pro shot as best I could, and it was. I mean, they frowned on it pretty much at the time, and I'm filming this thing, and I was, front row-ish. I was on the serpentine wall, and Jack kept pointing to me, halfway through the show. He kept pointing and talking to somebody, and I would, try to cover it the best I could, and finally he just had security. He pointed at me and was like,
"Yeah,
that guy right there is filming the show."
And we're thinking, "Oh shit!"
And security starts coming for me, and I just I can't find the tape. If I didn't stop recording, I just took off running, and you can hear me running with the camera. And then I just text messaged a friend of ours who was at Todd Kern's Brent was at the show.
Okay.
He lives in Colorado now, and I ran into him, and you could hear me talking on the thing. He's like, "Hey, Andy, what's going on? I told my girlfriend if the Night Ranger's playing, Andy Parker's going to be here." And I said, "Hey, I got to run. Security's chasing me." And he just starts laughing. And I took off and left my, Ethel was left with Brent and whoever he was. I just took off. I was like, "I'll catch you guys somewhere down the line." So, I don't know. Todd did get back to me. He said that was before 2000 because he got married in 99 and he was not married.
Yeah, so that wasn't
time of the bumping into each other. So if that's
that was
2000,
not this show.
It was not that show.
Told you. Okay,
so
I
have another show somewhere.
I knew I was right because
I have a partial show somewhere
because it was easier to move through the crowd. The crowd wasn't as big as it was at this Chili Fest.
Oh yeah, I
remember
scrambled.
I remember feeling bad for you because we got everybody in the band's autograph as they walked off the stage, and Andy's nowhere to be found.
Yeah, I missed the end of the show. I missed.
Yeah.
I don't know how I think we made a plan to meet up somewhere if I had to bail. So.
Oh, good times. But yeah, we never saw the Michael Lardy lineup or the Red Beach lineup. Neither one of Andy and I saw that.
So the 2004 show was Michael Lardy, and then this is where I probably start forgetting stuff because some of the stuff I didn't have ticket stubs for. I went down to Tin Pan Alley, Songwriters Convention, in Nashville. I think it was March of 2006, and I could be a year off of that, but I think it was March of 2006, and scrap metal. They weren't scrap metal yet, but it was Kelly Kagi, Mark Slaughter, Gunnar Nelson, those three in a band, basically, and they would have people come up, and they would, like Kip Winger and Red Beach showed up, and they played some songs. Alex Call, who co-wrote the Jenny, 5, 6, 7, whatever. Probably the only one I don't know the fucking number, but he played that. The guy that wrote some of those Stevie Nicks songs in the 80s.
Sorry.
He came up. So, and then they would play some of their stuff. Gunnar Nelson, I think, was just on that weight loss VH1 show. Remember that?
Yeah.
So he was. So that can pinpoint what year it was. He had just been on that show. Celebrity Fit Club or something?
Yes. Oh my God. I mean, not that I watched every episode.
But he had just been on that, so that should tell you the year. But after the show, I got to talk to Kelly, and so I did get to see Kelly 2006. But the next Night Ranger show was this. Night Ranger at the Wild Horse Saloon in Nashville.
Oh, yeah.
VIP meet and greet. I bought that ticket with the VIP meet and greet, $66 with that. The thing is, at that time I was going to Nashville a lot, and I knew this bar that played really good honky-tonk music, and I know from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., they had dollar PBRs, and I like PBR, and I really like dollar beer. So, my buddy was a big guy, and he could drink, and I was really in my prime then, so I could drink, and we were just fucking hammered. And I remember I ran into Doc McGee getting some beer. I'd go up there with $5, 4 beers, $1 tip. I'd come back with, my beers, 2 for him, 2 for me. And going down this little ramp that kind of led up to the next part, there was Doc McGee. And I was like, holy shit, you're Doc McGee. He's like, yeah. And that's all I did, because I knew I was just so hammered that I would fuck everything else up.
That's all I got, man.
But there was my shot. I could be working with Doc McGee right now. So we went to the VIP meet and greet. I knew me and my buddy were hammered. He was hammered. And it's like, we'll just be at the end of the line, and we'll just go through real quick, right? And so we get there, and the guys are just great. They're talking. I show them the tattoo. Then they want to take a picture with the tattoo. So it's all of us, and my sleeve rolled up, and I'm just, just like, oh, this is horrible. I'm hammered. So this, whatever security was working there had left. And so, I talked to the guys a little bit longer, and I was like, all right, I'm thinking to myself, I need to get out of here. So I yell for my buddy, and we start, go, okay, guys, we'll see. Now, this place is kind of big, and it's got 3 levels, and we are backstage somewhere on some other level. So me and my buddy are starting to walk and trying to find how to get off of this, where the hell do we go to see the rest of the show? And finally I see this elevator, and I go over to it, and I get on it, and I kind of noticed someone was behind us, and we got on the elevator. It's Reb Beach. And Reb wasn't at the meet and greet, but somehow he's there with us now. And he's following us, and he kind of looks at us getting ready to get on the elevator, and he looks at me and goes, where are we going? And all I could think was, why is he fucking with me when I'm drunk? I don't know what he means, like, where are we going? Okay, you fucking with what's going on? I'm like, well, what do you mean, man? I'm trying to find where the hell I'm supposed to go.
I don't know where I'm going.
He goes, you don't work here? And all I could think was, I got a Night Ranger shirt on, maybe. I don't have anything that says Wild Horse Saloon. I look like shit because I've been drinking since 8 a.m. No, I do not work here. He thought we worked there, and we were taking him to wherever he needed to go, and I don't know how that came. Just maybe he saw us talking to the band for a little bit. But, yeah, I met Kelly's wife, just happened to be standing next to me, and we had talked somewhere previously. She's like, oh, hey. I was just like, hey. And I'm like, don't talk to me again. That's all I could think of. I was like, I am such. But yeah, it's just. So it was a good show. It was The Hole in the Sun, had been released in Japan, and they played You're Gonna Hear From Me was the one song they played. The lineup was Reb Beach on guitar, and Christian on keys. So that was that lineup. But yeah, $66 got you a ticket and VIP meet and greet.
Quick note: the Wild Horse Saloon was affected by that Christmas Day bombing.
Yeah, it was
here in
like
Nashville.
right across the street, just a little
I
bit.
just looked it up. If you go on Google Earth right now, the current image shows the bombing site.
Mm-hmm.
You can see all the blown out windows. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's a big place.
Yeah, I've been in there. It's really well set up.
I just know it has like 3 levels. So you can be like on this 3rd floor, and I think that's where we were when we were trying to figure out where the hell we were. Then just real quick, the next month, October 6th, 2007, the melodicrock.com 10th anniversary concert festival featuring scrap metal and all-star special guest, October 6th, 2007. I went to that. It was something put on by Andrew McNeese and for his melodic rock stuff. It was in South Bend, Indiana, at this theater right near Notre Dame University. And for all the people he had there, it was in a theater, and there was an okay showing. But for the people he had, it was so good, and there were I don't think a lot of people appreciated what was there and didn't go. But you had, I think mainly because scrap metal and special guests. But so you had scrap metal, Kelly Kagi, Mark Slaughter, and Gunnar Nelson. His brother may have been there. But he had some bands. Jeff Scott Soto played there during the day, and some others. But here's some of the guests. Joe Lynn Turner showed up and sang some Rainbow songs. Jimmy Jamison and Jim Peterick came out with just him and like a keyboard and played some Survivor songs. And I knew Jimmy Jamison was good, but geez, hearing him just with a keyboard was awesome.
Yeah.
There were some others. Unfortunately, I don't know if I can think of them off the top of my head, but the most important guest was Jack Blades. And Jack Blades played, Don't Tell Me You Love Me, He Still Rocked America. So yeah, there was, some Night Ranger stuff there. Like that was October of 2007. Now, when did you guys see your next Night Ranger? So you said it was with Joel. Do you remember what year that would have been?
That would have been the following. That was the year before Somewhere from California came out. The year before.
Like 2010, somewhere around there?
Yeah, I'm guessing.
All right. Well,
here, look. We can look up. What's the town we saw him in Indiana, Andy?
I want to say it was Batesville.
Okay, hang on a second.
Don't hold me to that, but I believe it was.
Well, we still got some 2007 stuff. Here's your Shaw Blades.
I'm gonna get the timeline on it. I'm gonna look at Batesville.
So,
but you saw the Shaw Blades show, right?
I saw Shaw Blades twice, but this was in the.
I wanted to see that so bad.
This would have been, like I said, with the Influence tour. This was at Tangiers, where it says at Vegas Cabaret.
What was the date?
This was This was November 18th of 2007.
Yeah, I knew it was wintertime because it snowed. We didn't get to go to Indianapolis.
So I saw them at that, like I said, Tangiers. I almost got in a fight. I was with a girlfriend. I can't remember if he about fell. And I was trying to like not kill people around that time. So it's like, he falls, almost hits her, and I'm like, all right, don't try to kill this person. And but what I remember, there's some other great stuff about this. So, all right, so I know it's like a Las Vegas Cabaret. It's got a kitchen and a restaurant, and I told her that if they go out, they're going to go out to the bus or out this hallway. So we stood there in that hallway, and I could see through the kitchen. And I see Jack and his assistant or whatever walking through the kitchen, and walking towards the other side of the venue to where they would go out. like I said, this place is humongous. So I'm like, okay, so they're going that way. So there's these doors to my left that would be going in the same direction. I have no idea what's on the other side. I open them up, and it is this huge, grand dining room. Just 100 tables, and they're just all the, just a beautiful dining room where they have weddings. So I just turn up all the lights right there by the thing, and I just start walking to the other side of this room. And I get there, and it looks like a fire alarm exit, right? And I'm like, shit. But then I hear Jack Blades' voice, and it sounds echoey, like he's in a tunnel. I'm like, what the fuck is on the other side of this door? Because you hear him, it's like plain as day. It's almost like it's echoed. Like I said, like he's in a tunnel. And I'm like, fuck it. I don't care if the fire alarm goes off. I bust open that fucking door, and sure enough, it's a service tunnel for like busboys and shit. And I just remember Jack and whoever was with him just kind of stopping, and like their eyes are real big because they're in this dark tunnel, and all of a sudden this door busts open, and it's some dude. And I don't remember what I said because I was about as surprised as they were. I'm like, Jack, can I get an autograph? And he just looked, I don't know, and he just looked at me and goes, you got the right shirt on, so yeah. And because I had a Dawn Patrol shirt on. So he comes into this back into that grand ballroom thing, and he just starts being Jack. He's just talking. He's like, hey, did you hear that Jeff is suing me? And I'm like, that's not really what I thought he would be talking to me about. And so I was like, well, yeah, I've heard, some stuff. And yeah, and he starts talking about some more stuff, and I don't remember what we're talking. He's still talking, and I maybe get the camera, or she gets the camera, my girlfriend, and he starts, where's a good place to take a picture? And he starts looking around, and there was like this tile on the wall over on the other side. Let's go over here. And so we go over there, and we get behind that tile, and we get, me and her got our arms around Jack, and Jack's all smile. It was fun. He smiles and takes a picture, and it's late, and we're 3.5 hours away, and it snowed, and he's just still sitting there talking to us. And eventually I kind of had to do like,
you're like, well,
all right, dude,
late.
yeah. But I think he was just having fun because he's at least meeting a fan. He's inside, and he's not out in the cold and everything. But yeah, it was great. It's just one of those times that I kind of forget about sometimes. But that was at that Tangiers Shaw Blades record tour, and then I saw him not too long after. So that's November 18th, and then I saw them December 6th at the Lifestyles Community Center, which is the LG Pavilion. Now I saw them there December 6th.
Oh man!
Took my brother. I almost got in a fight there too. And no crazy, busting in on Jack in a service tunnel story there, but it was a good show. Again, I remember it was cold. So that was 2007. I really think the next time I saw him again was would have been, and I would think this is still before when you're talking, Brent, would have been August 26, 2009.
Yeah.
This is kind of where I consider, we talk about Night Ranger having like, what do we call it? Not the dead years. What was we calling it though? I always talk about the year, that time period where the forgotten years or whatever we were calling
it. Yeah, it's forgotten what you say.
But really from right after 7 until this point, Night Ranger doesn't do much. Yeah, we got Hole in the Sun and some miscellaneous concerts. But this is right around where they, to me, start making their comeback, which leads to Somewhere in California and all those records. And I think maybe it has something to do with management. But I went to this show because I wanted to see Night Ranger in an arena again. Think about it. this whole time we've been
Yeah.
talking about Night Ranger. We have not seen them in an arena-type setting since Big Life. Everything has been clubs, but they do this tour the summer of 2009 with Journey.
Yep.
And I had like 5th or 6th row seats. Cost me $137, which at the time is still expensive, but at the time that was
Real expensive.
real expensive. But I wanted to see Night Ranger in an arena again. And they came out. It was Joel and Christian. And they opened with This Boy Needs to Rock. And so, yeah, it was great. And not too long after that, November 7th, so that was August 26th of 09. November 7th of 09, Night Ranger's still at it. It is Night Ranger, REO Speedwagon, and Styx.
Yes.
I did the meet and greet before that. I remember Brad looking at my Rubicon album and making fun of Jack. I remember talking to Brad about Gary Moon. And it was a great show. The Night Ranger had the full lighting and backdrops, just like Styx, and
wasn't that on like a digital screen or something?
Correct.
Because I saw that at NKU, Brent.
Yeah.
Now was
I
Night
didn't go to
Ranger
that.
Night Ranger there?
Yeah, they played. There's an arena at NKU. I don't know how big the arena. It's it's called something like B&T Bank Arena.
Yeah. Okay, I've been there. So this was Saturday, November 7th of 09. Tommy Shaw came out and played High Enough with Night Ranger. And then REO Speedwagon came out. Then it was Styx. And then at the very end, everybody came out. So Joel's out there playing guitar with everybody, and everybody, Jack, Kelly, Christian, and it was all 3 bands at one time. And I think Styx and REO had recorded a special song for that tour, and that's the song that they were playing. So, yeah, that wrapped up 2009. Brent, did you find the date of that show you were talking about?
It was 2008 is when we saw him.
Did you find it was at the Bicentennial?
Yeah, I didn't find the date of the show, but that's when Joel joined the band, and Joel had just joined the band when we saw him, because that's when you asked me, who is that guy?
Yeah, because we thought we were going to see Reb.
Yeah, and I told
Reb.
you, I said Joel Hoekstra. Hoekstra? I think I said Hook.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's when we saw him. But I didn't go to those arena. I wasn't paying, and I'm not being an ass. I don't have a ton of money, and so if I'm going to pay $100 and something for a concert, it wasn't going to be 25 minutes of Night Ranger. I couldn't do it.
Yeah,
I was pissed.
Well, to give them, it was just Night Ranger and Journey, so Night Ranger played probably.
Yeah, I hate
45,
Journey
50
though.
minutes. Well, I went with
And I'm not a Styx fan,
a
and
pretty
Yeah.
girl.
I did all those shows, Josh, though, when they came through Cincinnati.
Yeah.
So does this take us up to 2011? Did you guys see him anytime before the album comes out? With
That would have been Batesville, Indiana. What, before Somewhere in California comes out?
Yeah.
Batesville, and then when did you play? When
they played Blue Ash?
When they played Blue Ash, and you and I had to leave like 15 minutes before the show ended because his band was playing
up the street,
a half hour
I
away.
almost went to a Blue Ash show.
Yeah.
I don't remember what year, but
so my band at that time, we're a working cover band, and we had a gig booked, and I was like, I can't miss Night Ranger's so close, I can't miss it.
Yeah.
So my band was setting up all the gear. Brent and I are rocking out at Night Ranger, and I'm like, we were down to the wire. Like, I gotta go. Like, my band is going on in like 45 minutes, Brent. Like, we have to leave.
Yeah,
now.
they got to the last 2 songs before the encore, and we looked at each other and we had to go. And the problem was you and I were the only drummers that could play for them.
It wasn't like if I wasn't there, Brent usually sits in for me. Well, Brent was with me, so it's like Bobby's like, one of you two had better fucking be here.
Oh, so yeah, that was
Shit, I forgot
that was the first time we saw Eric play with Night Ranger, and we were right away. We were like, finally, they've got a guy, you know.
Man, that was crazy.
Eric was great. He embodied the band. You know, we instantly connected with him.
Well, so that had to be 2011 if you saw Eric Levy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is probably mine. This would be July 31st, 2011. Night Ranger, Foreigner, and Journey. This was, I just got back from Africa, so me and a buddy and my brother, we planned a little rock and roll trip where we went to Youngstown and saw New York Dolls, Poison, Motley Crue, and then went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which is garbage, and then went to Detroit and saw Night Ranger, Foreigner, and Journey. Went to Motown. But Night Ranger was, again, them playing first, so it was half full, but it was cool seeing them still play some new stuff from somewhere in California.
Was that the tour they opened with Lay It On Me?
Yeah.
They may have. I think that might have been the same year or the next year we went and saw them at the Pickrington, Picktown Palooza. That might have been 12.
Yeah.
That might have been 12. That was the second song, and Pickrington just got it here. September 17th, 2011. Last time I saw David Lauser. And look at that. Norm signed that for me. But
there you go.
So yeah, 2011.
That guy's kind of a know-it-all. Guy's kind of drops names here. He's what you call a dick.
So me and my buddy were the only ones waiting for Norm, and he comes out and he meets us, and him and his buddy that was with him asked us if we had any weed. We're like, no. He's like, well, where's a good place to go eat? I'm like, dude, I'm not even from around here, man. I'm no help to you at all. But so
who's asking this?
Norm.
Oh, okay.
We were in Mansfield. So yeah, I'm just going through here, and so we're at 2012, I think, was the Picktown Palooza, which is just right up the road from me. It's maybe $5 to get in, and then the show was free, but it was packed. There was 2,000 or 3,000 people. Probably a couple thousand at least for the show, and so yeah, that's what I remember about that show was they played Lay It On Me, Growing Up in California. You know, they played, since they were like the headliner and the only band, they played a few songs off that record. Do you guys know when the next time you saw them, or?
I think we were at Ribs Fest in Indianapolis seeing that.
Oh, the old rib festivals.
With Tesla.
No, that wasn't Tesla. That was a year later. That was like a year or two later. That's the one where you got rained on. I didn't go.
Yeah.
With Billy Squire.
Well, that would have been about the same time with Brandon Etheridge when I went down to the Portsmouth River Days, which was September 1st, 2012. And that was right on the river, really cool. But again, go watch the Brandon Etheridge video or podcast episode. I was like, who's the guy on the keyboards there? And then they kind of say that, Eric's had a kid and we brought this guy in. And so it was cool that I got to see that lineup. And Andy just found out
me too.
that he got to see it as well. So yeah, now we're getting into some of this stuff where I don't have ticket stubs for
they're all free shows,
seeing them. They did the Picktown Palooza again in 2018. Is
that the Balloon Fest thing?
No.
The Balloon Fest is, they've played there a couple times. I haven't been able to make either one.
I made one of those.
You did?
Yeah.
You went backstage at the one, didn't you?
I did. They have. Well, it's there's a story to it, but the Picktown, the 2018 one is the I was way back on that one, Josh. I wasn't at the 2012 one. I don't believe.
Okay.
Because that's when they did Come Again.
Yes. Yep.
And I was filming it because I'm like, with my phone, I'm like, they're playing fucking Come Again. Like,
Yeah.
This is crazy.
The 2018 one is what was funny. I was waiting for my buddy to show up. I'm at the beer garden. Beer and Night Ranger always seem to go together in my stories. But and a guy came up to me and goes, "You want to go meet Night Ranger?" And at this point, I'm like, all right, what's going on? You hitting on me?
Yeah.
I'm like, I guess I can still turn ahead. I guess that's cool, but he's like, yeah, me and my wife and blah blah blah, we're all going up, and one of our buddies couldn't go, and you're the only one here with the Night Ranger shirt. I'm like, yeah, man, if you got it. And so I went up with them and bullshitted with them, and they, whatever, slapped the sticker on me, and I went in and got my picture with them, and it's one of the quick meet and greets. It's almost, I would never do it. Really, I did it for the when I went and saw them in Detroit. Because back, in 2011, for the Foreigner and stuff, but it was only like $50 or $60 to do, and you got an autographed poster and I think they even gave us a CD, the new CD.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, for $50 or $60, and I had some extra scratch because of just being overseas for so long. So I was like, I bought one for me and my brother and my buddy, and but just to do those now, I just went, it was free and I did it, but it's just in and out, and but yes, that's the one they played Come Again, and then I took a picture as we were up front most of the time. Towards the end, we went to the back, and I took a picture from all the way in the back, and I sent it to Eric, and he's like, I think they were driving to Cincinnati actually after the show, and he's like, hey, I'm with the band and they love that. Can we use that on our social media? And I was like, yeah. And so Night Ranger's Facebook and Instagram posted my Night Ranger photo.
That's sweet.
On their Instagram and everything. So yeah, I'm just looking here to see what else.
Yeah, the All Balloon Festival, I did that meet and greet, but at that time, and I think they still do it to this day, is they sell two different meet and greet packages. One is you can buy when you buy your ticket, and then there's one you can buy from Night Ranger. There's a difference. The one you buy from Night Ranger, you get a little more time with Night Ranger. The one you buy with your ticket is the hi, let's take a picture, and then they move you out.
Well, the Night Ranger, the ones that they've been doing is there is just a regular meet and greet, but you can get one $150, $200, maybe it's $300. It's you get to join their pre-show huddle.
Yeah.
There for a while they were offering, and they didn't offer it very long, so I don't know if they decided they didn't like it or it didn't sell, but you were able to come up on stage and sing a song, like background.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't offered very long on their website. It was like a mid-level one. There was a meet and greet, there was the pre-show huddle, and then there was the come on stage and sing one, which was in the middle, and that one was eventually taken off. Here is Night Ranger May 16th, 2015, and this was a cool show because it was at a Kent State branch in Tuscasaurus or something like that.
Tuscawaras.
Well, I think we're both butchering it, but in out in the really middle of nowhere, in right around New Philadelphia, Ohio, and again, I didn't really know about the show. I don't think Night Ranger put it on the website for a while. I had decent seats. What I just remember about it was the girl I was with at the time. We stopped somewhere like McDonald's, maybe for her to use the restroom, and she's getting in the car and opened the car door and hit her eye and like cut it, and it just reminded me of Cut Me Mick,
Cut me.
Yeah.
Her eyes all huge. Needless to say, it wasn't the best after that. She was in not the best mood, but it was a great show. So that was like right around High Road. So they played a couple tracks off of High Road. Seeing what else is through here. October 14th, 2015, I saw at the Shot Night Ranger, Foreigner, and Def Leppard. Night Ranger probably played 40 minutes, but it was cool seeing them on a huge, arena tour, and wasn't too bad. I just went to go, and so I got like upper level bowl seats. It was only $40 to see all of them. So I did see them there. Trying to think if there's any other.
Oh yeah, there was. You missed. 2014 when High Road came out. We saw them up in Dayton at the Rose with Loverboy. Remember that, Andy? Me, you, and Teresa went, and that's when I ran into Gino Arce from Kiel.
Oh, that's at the Phrase.
Phrase.
Pavilion.
What's it called now, though? It's called the Rose, isn't it?
No, the Rose is a separate venue.
Oh, okay. Well, we was at the Phrase.
Yeah, the Phrase Pavilion.
Gosh, I remember Andy sneaking up to the front row before the show coming on, wanted me to take a picture of him in front of Kelly's drum set. Got a good picture of you.
I'm kind of a nerd.
It was great. But yeah, it was great because we're sitting there and I look to my right and I'm like, oh my God, that guy's in Kiel.
Yeah.
Because Gino lives in Columbus, or he did.
Brent, have one of my memories. I saw him. This was coming to me as Josh was talking about shows he's seen, and there's shows I've seen that you didn't see.
Yeah, and likewise.
Gary and I drove to Chicago to see the House of Blues.
Yeah, that was the 35 years and a night.
No.
Oh.
Dude, this is before that. This is back in when we were living together, 98 area, because we were cutting grass together, and we saw them somewhere in Cincinnati, Indy, maybe, and met them. And I'd said to Jack, because they were playing like Chicago, like the next day or 2 days later, and I said, I'm going to see you guys at the House of Blues. And Gary and I drove up there, and as we were walking, if you've ever been to the House of Blues in Chicago, there's a little bit of a incline, the driveway. Yeah. And we were walking up it as Jack and the band were walking down. And Jack looked at me and goes, didn't I just see you? I was like, yeah, you did. I told you we'd be here. And he's like, oh, my God, you guys really did drive up here. But I don't remember the date. I mean, it had to be.
Well, we might have seen them in Blue Ash because they played Blue Ash a couple times.
It could have been, but it was definitely. But we bumped into him or somewhere. We'd met him, and I told him that I'll see you the next day because Gary and I were going to drive to Chicago the next day to see him.
Yeah, and I remember Andy's going, "You want to go?" And I'm like, "And I had to work."
We drove up and straight back, like turned around after the show and drove straight back.
I've done that twice.
But so they had to be 90. I mean, 98.
I don't remember.
But the big show that you were at was the live recording of 35 days and a night.
35 years and a night.
So you did that, and we've talked about that on some other episodes, but it was cool that you actually got to go there and do that. I think that's probably when my girl was pregnant with my boy, so I don't think I was doing much.
Would you have gone? Would you have made that run?
I don't know. It just depends on when you catch me. I definitely, I'm always willing to. It probably no, because I probably didn't have no one to go with. Now, let's say you were, hey, you want to go? I can really, with my work schedule, do with whatever I want. So work never is an issue for me. It's money sometimes. Back then it would have been just because I was having a kid. So yeah, maybe. If it was now, probably but it's cool that you got to see that. One thing that Night Ranger started doing in 2016, and I know a lot of people that listen have gone to these shows, is every December they were like they always had a date at the Hard Rock Casino in Cleveland.
Yep.
I think MGM bought them. I don't think it's a Hard Rock Casino no more, but then it was. So December 30th, 2016, front row.
Look at that.
And it was $30. But so yeah, I got to see Night Ranger front row. I went with my buddy. He brought his girlfriend. Well, they met us up there. Me and my brother went up. My brother went because whoever was supposed to go with me couldn't go, and I didn't have anyone to go. So I, forced him to, yeah, you're going to go see Night Ranger, and he was thrilled. But yeah, they did that every year. I'm trying to see if
I went. What was the most recent time they did that? It was when they did Dawn Patrol.
It was a year ago.
Yeah, I sold those tickets.
That was like December 7th or something.
What started pissing me off is I used to be able to always just log on and get front or second row seats. Well, the last 2 years that I've done it, I remember I logged in or whatever, and it said there were 5,800 people in the queue ahead of me. Yeah. I'm like, there is not 5,800 fucking people.
There's no way.
And I was just getting shit seats, and I was like, you know what, I'm done with it. And all I did was I bought third row seats because I knew closer to the show I could put those third row seats on and double my money, and I did. And I bought tickets for the last 2 shows up there, but I didn't go because I'm just pissed off at them because they're basically letting bots or whatever buy up the tickets. But
I was at that show, the last one they did, and then I also was at the Sweetwater show in 2018?
17. That was Don't Let Up. Don't Let Up came out in March of 2017. I believe it was March.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember, but I got front row for that one, Josh.
Or maybe it was 18. I think it was a year later.
I did one of those things where I as soon as I found out about the show, I jumped online, and it wasn't like through Ticketmaster. You had to go through like Sweetwater to get them. Mm-hmm. And I pulled up the seat chart, and you know how they have like the open seats or like a white dot or whatever. And I'm looking at it, and there were 2 seats dead center, front row, and I'm like, ain't no fucking way. But I clicked them. I was like, I'll take them just to see what happens. Mm-hmm. And you got them, and I was like, holy shit, I'm front row.
August 24th, 2018.
Yeah. And so I went, and I took a guy from work who'd never been to a Night Ranger show, and he's roughly my age. Mm-hmm. He fucking loved it. He's flipping out. He's going crazy. He's like, oh my God, I didn't know I knew all these songs. Catches a drumstick from, Kelly. Yeah. Because he's a big dude, he's like 6'3". And he's like, this is one of the best nights of my life. I was like, it's fucking Night Ranger, man. He's like, I'm having a blast.
Yeah, that's how, just like this one here, I went the following year. We were second row up at the Hard Rock Casino, and I was with two buddies of mine. One is older, probably right around your guys' age. So like he was a big Randy Rhoads fan. So
yeah,
and he's been to other Night Ranger. He went to me at the Detroit show and stuff. But also a friend of ours named Luke, and we were all in the military together. And Luke is a big metalhead because of his parents, and Luke's only at the time was probably only like 23, 24. So he started tagging along with all these shows to us. What's great, so we're up there, we're drinking, and I know like after the second show, from being in the front row the year before, the cops will just say, okay, you can, it's a free-for-all. They'll just wave, and you can just go right up to the front of the stage. So right when they did that, we went right up, and we were front row right in front of Brad. So if you go on my Facebook page, like I got pictures of Brad's shoes and shit just because he's right there. But I remember he handed my buddy Alan a guitar pick, and he gives it to him. He goes, I want it back after the show, and that's how close we were. And, but he's fucking around with, giving it to him. I want it back after the show. But that was December of 17. Seeing what else
now I saw them over in Indy with Lita Ford.
Where at in Indy?
It was a theater, and I can't remember if it was actually the guy I was texting about the Chili Fest show. He got us the tickets. We were like third row, and actually he caught a glove from Kelly and gave it to me. And then we found a VIP pass laying on the ground, and Todd gave it to me too. But I don't. It was December, but it might have been 2017, maybe.
Well, I don't remember.
I
remember you going.
Yeah.
It might have been 2018.
Yeah, it could have been. I don't remember.
Because 2017 was my Saint Cecilia show I tried to get you to go to.
Oh.
And you had just went to Balloon Fest the day before.
Yeah.
Or the Friday before. And this was on...
Yeah, my timing was just rough. I couldn't
Labor Day weekend, September 6th, 2017.
Killing me.
And I kept trying to get Andy to come down to this free show. It was, at this church. They were playing at church. But there was, I think, 80,000 people there. And I had went the year before they were there with my daughters. And my youngest one kept wanting to go because my oldest one wanted to go. Well, I kept telling them there's going to be nowhere to sit. If you're going to go to the bathroom, it's going to look like a phone booth. They didn't know what a phone booth was, of course,
Yeah.
So I kept telling them that you're not going to have any fun, but we're not leaving early.
Way to sell it, Brent.
So we get there, and I got two St. Cecilia stories. We get there, and Madison's like, "Daddy, are we going to meet the band?" I said, "You're damn right we're going to meet the band." Well, we did and we didn't. We had those construction fences they use that are just rolled up in plastic with big holes in them.
Yeah.
We had one of those mesh fences between me and Jack Blades. And Jack Blades was signing some autographs, and he looked over and he saw my two little girls, and he waved to them. And all of a sudden I held up High Road and both Jack Blades solo albums. And he pointed at this guy, and the guy came over and goes, Jack would like to sign your CDs. And
Nice.
if it wasn't for my kids being there, it would have never happened, So anyway, fast forward a year later, Night Ranger's playing there again, and I'm trying to get Andy to come down.
Yeah.
And he keeps saying no. And Andy, what do you keep telling Teresa?
I said something's going to happen because Brent always, like I said earlier, Brent, and I've got other stories that I can back this up, but Brent just has a way of getting things happen. Meets the band when you don't think he's going to, gets backstage when you don't think it's possible. And me and Teresa were actually heading out, and you called me. I think you called me or you sent me a message of what were you going to do?
I'm sitting there at a picnic table. My buddy Greg comes up, and Greg knows the promoter of the show, and we're just chit-chatting, blah, blah, blah. Next thing I know, the promoter comes over. He looks at Greg and goes, "Who's this?" He goes, "Oh, this is my friend Brent." He goes, "Do you know how to run lights?" And I went, "Excuse me?" He goes, "The lighting crew hasn't shown up for spotlights. We needed someone to spotlight the band." I said, "Well, I know exactly who does the solos.
Yep.
I know when to put them on them." He goes, "You're hired." He goes, "What's your price?" I said, "I just want to meet the band." He goes, "Okay, no problem." So they take me in line to meet the band, and next thing you know, the two spotlight guys show up. So I'm like, God damn it. And Greg just said, "Don't go anywhere." So in any event, it was like you were talking about, Josh. It was like cattle just moving through the line.
Yeah.
Get your picture taken, go. Well, for some reason, Jack stepped out of the frame as I was walking up. So I got to talk to the band for a couple minutes, and I think I told the story. And Kelly looks at me and goes, "How you doing?" I say, "Hey, Kelly, how's your heart?" And he goes, "It's fine." I said, "Well, if you feel like you're going to have an episode, I know all your parts. I'll be out in the crowd. I was supposed to do Spotlight tonight, but I can play drums too." And Kelly just starts crying. He's laughing so hard, and Jack Blades comes up and goes, "What's so damn funny?" And Carrie's like, this, and Kelly is looking at me like, "You're an asshole." But anyway.
Or remind him of that story if you ever get a chance to interview him.
So anyway, I got
Look at that.
Yeah, I was able to get my picture taken with him and called Andy after that happened. He goes, I told Teresa that something was going to happen with you.
Do it. I felt it in my gut something was going to happen.
But I came within 20 minutes of running Spotlight on Brad's side, Brad and Kelly's side.
That would have been great.
I mean, they were telling me there's 2 buttons, 2 things, and you got to pull one out and you got to push it in. And I'm like, okay, well, yeah, cool.
Got it.
So yeah, that was my craziest Night Ranger moment. Walking in and to see a free show. Next thing you know, can you run a Spotlight?
I think that's all the shows that I can remember. I saw them. I went to the Marion Popcorn Festival, and I was with my girl and the 2 stepchildren at the time. But they didn't want to sit there and And
I didn't go to that show. I wanted to. I forget why we changed our mind and ended up not going.
So we watched a couple of songs. They played Penny. I remember that.
Yeah.
So
that's when you left.
Yeah. Well, I was actually happy to hear Penny because it was at least something different. But yeah, I know I'm missing some of those free shows.
I saw him the next summer again, but it was another show I went by myself too. Andy was already moved out of town and wouldn't come down to the show with me.
Yeah, I mean,
that year I'm like, Andy, remember Spotlight? Let's go.
I think I counted one time that I think I've seen Night Ranger around 30 times. I just can't. I wish I could sit down and name them all and line them up and have ticket stubs, but I just don't. But I just was like counting in my head. I'm like, I've seen them on every tour, and I've seen this, and I've traveled here to see them.
Yeah, I'd probably be between 25 and 30 is probably where I'm at.
Who would have thought from January 9th, 1983, that we'd be sitting here today talking about Night Ranger, going to see Night Ranger, because we're going to see them again. It's going to happen. Well, Josh has already got a ticket for the one, which you're going to wing on up here and go with me.
Yeah.
So we can all be there together.
Well, and I think about, again, I sometimes when I think I'm a pretty big fan, and then I see all Josh's stuff that he's done and his knowledge, and I'm like, well, I'm not that big of a fan. And then you see people on the page and so much stuff that they've done, and I'm like, I suck as a fan. Then I remember, oh wait, but I did fly 3,000 miles and go into debt for one show.
Yeah, I mean, I miss a lot of shows just around here. So I think I probably think more about the ones I missed, the last couple Cleveland ones and some of the Blue Ash shows, and because there's some people that go to, they've been to 50 or 60 shows, and it's just, I'm a big fan, but and yes, I like to go, but it is one of those things where if it isn't real close and it's going to cost some money, I've heard Secret of My Success enough, and the set list just hasn't changed enough to where I'm going to do a lot of extra stuff to go see them. They got to be somewhat close.
Well, that's why I wasn't paying them to see them open for Journey, for a little bit of time. I just couldn't do it.
I paid just to see them. Again, it's their first time playing arenas, and
I really wanted to see that.
25 years. So
I think the thing that I've always said to, because Brent knows, and Brent's traveled too. I mean, Brent and I have traveled to see shows. We've driven. I've driven to Atlanta for Butch shows multiple times.
You're more willing to travel further than I am.
Well, my point is this: is because Brent, you did it for Kiss. You've traveled immensely for Kiss, and Josh, you've traveled for shows. And I say this all the time when people ask me. Friends of mine will say, like, "Why do you do it?" And I said, "Well, a couple of things." When I was living in Columbus, and said, "Why do you drive to Chicago to see Night Ranger?" And I said, "Well, A, they're not playing Columbus, so I have to go to where they are. That's one thing, and B, there will be a time where I won't get to see Night Ranger ever again, or whomever, Butch or Kiss." I missed a lot of shows growing up because I had such a tunnel vision on what music I liked. Brent went to a lot of shows that I never went with because I was like, I don't want to go. Brent talked me into a lot of shows that I'm thankful that he did. But in hindsight, looking back, there's bands I can never see because they don't play anymore or members are dead. And I'll
like In Excess. I'd love to see In Excess.
I'll never see In Excess. I'll never see, Freddie Mercury. I'll never see, I've never seen AC/DC. And now I can't see the original AC. So my point is when I go, I will go to see these bands because there'll be a day where I can't buy a Night Ranger ticket again. And at least I'll be able to say, yeah, but I saw them, 35 times. And I've got all that jammed in my head somewhere. So
yeah, and I mean, I think when you get older, you got a little bit more spending money, so you can do some shows. And
absolutely,
I like part of the travel is fun. You go to a restaurant, even the venue comes into play with me. Like I will go just sometimes because the venue is great. I just for shits and giggles, just real quick, I don't even know what's all in here. It's 2016. I just want to see what a year was for me because I fucking can't go to any concerts right now. 2016 in January, Scott Stapp. So, and you know what? I'm not the biggest Creed fan. I love Alderbridge. Scott Stapp, I couldn't believe how good he was.
There you go.
February, Black Sabbath in Detroit. So Elvis tribute, Dwight Eisenhower, one of the best Elvis impersonators there is. Georgette Jones, the daughter of George Jones and Tammy Wynette, I saw. Chicago, Earth, Wind, and Fire, April 5th. Bruce Springsteen, April 12th. Another Elvis tribute, May 20th. Pierce the Veil. Took the stepdaughter to see that in Cleveland.
Never heard of them.
Pierce the Veil, they are kind of like a little bit of rap rock. They are popular with teenage kids. Their shirts were all over Hot Topic and stuff like that.
Sure.
Andy Black from Cincinnati, Black Veil Brides. I saw him at the Agora in Cleveland. The Monkees. Took my mom to that. White Snake, which was actually the next day. Alice in Chains, the Taft Theater, July 18th. Kenny Rogers at the Ohio State Fair. I took one of the girls to go see Halsey, if you like some pop rock. John Kay and Steppenwolf with Foghat at the Ohio State Fair. I'll tell you what, John Kay, 74 years old, when I saw him, I could not believe how good his voice was. But Kiss, August 12th, 2016, the Freedom to Rock tour. Paul McCartney, August 18th. Kiss again in Dayton, August 22nd.
I was at that one.
AC/DC in September. Joe Bonamassa in November. And then ended the year with Night Ranger. So, I miss doing that stuff. But that was just a typical year, 2016.
Well, I'll say also getting back to travel for shows, and Brent knows this. And, Teresa and I, we travel out to Ohana, Dana Point, California. They do the Ohana Festival, which is a put on by Eddie Vedder's part of it. And we were out there. I don't remember the year. I want to say it was 2 years ago or two festivals ago. And Sammy Hagar started putting on a festival show about 45 minutes north from Dana Point, and Night Ranger was playing at the festival, at Sammy's festival. And at one point I was like, I'm going to leave Ohana Festival by myself and go see Night Ranger real quick and come back to the festival.
Yeah.
That's how, again, we flew out to California, and I'm like, I'm going to rent a car, drive up to Huntington Beach, get in, rock out, drive back, and try to catch Eddie Vedder at the end of the night.
It's always the worst when something like they're playing nearby. Like I remember we were leaving.
I was so torn.
We were leaving to go on a baseball trip, and Journey was closing out the Ohio State Fair, like at Crew Stadium. So a big outdoor show, and Night Ranger was going to open. I'm like, how cool would that, see Night Ranger at this huge stadium? But we were leaving on that baseball trip. I'm like, well, shit. And then there were some other Night Ranger. Oh, like Night Ranger at the Ohio State Fair. I've missed them the last couple years. Again, my little thing with Ticketmaster. But Yeah, like them playing with REO Speedwagon a couple years ago. I didn't, that was just right up the road, and I didn't go. And there's been a few others, but so yeah, there's our Night Ranger
road stories,
concert experiences, and it, like the Back to the Future movie, that we should end this with to be continued, because hopefully we got some more shows coming up.
Well, and hopefully, if anyone's still listening at this point of the podcast, that they will join us on the Facebook page and tell us your stories, and maybe how many times you've seen Night Ranger, and maybe your best time you've seen Night Ranger, how far you've traveled to see Night Ranger. See if you can beat my 3,000 miles.
I like some of the best stories, but tell me your worst. Tell me about the time.
Yeah.
Brad Gillis is there smoking a cigarette, and you're like 8 years old talking to him, and he just flicks it at you.
I've never had a bad Night Ranger experience.
I just want to hear some of those stories.
Yeah, your worst one was running, being spotted out.
Yeah,
by
there
Jack.
you go.
But it's still funny. It's funny as hell.
Yeah, it's funny speaking of that, I did ask Brad's sister about why they don't like that, and she said the reason, she told me, now this isn't official from the band, but she'd said that what they don't like, and this is before everybody had cell phones that could take pictures, was that if they're having a bad night on stage or something's not going right, they don't want it out there. Like if they're gonna film something, then everybody's on their game. If it's fan filmed, she said, and they're having a bad night, and you put it out there. This is before YouTube and all that. Mm-hmm. She's like, that's why they don't like all that. I was like, oh, that's fair. I'm still going to do it, but it's fair.
Well, plus in bootleg circles, people are making money off of it.
God, I gotta find that tape somewhere.
Yeah, it's the thing when it came to bootlegs, there was never any Night Ranger. I collected bootlegs up till about 97, and so that meant you'd have your list, and I would trade with people all around the country. I can't remember names. I know I traded with someone in Tennessee and another guy in Minnesota. And other guys, but those were the two guys I did a lot of trading with, and there were never any Night Ranger bootlegs out there. You had the two singles, Wild Innocent Youth and Girls All Like It, which were kind of hard to find at that time, but yeah, even through that circle, I found the December '88 Night Ranger San Diego show, which is kind of out there, but I still have the only copy that I've seen out there of Night Ranger in Cleveland on the Seven Wishes tour. So yeah, they didn't really have a lot of bootlegs out there. Yours would have been one of them, Andrew, but wasn't too far after.
Zero idea where it's at, which just kills me.
I'd go to record shows, and this little dude looked just like Scott Ian when Scott Ian had the hair still. He was from New York, and he always had 300 videotapes sitting on a table that you just go through. And I would say, he's like, man, what are you looking for? He always knew we were looking for Kiss. And I'm like, you got any Night Ranger? He goes, nobody gives a shit about Night Ranger. I'm like, oh.
That's where the throat punch comes in.
But they weren't a widely bootleg band. That's they weren't.
Well, again, even in today's day and age, we've been talking about Night Ranger tonight alone for
3 hours.
Really?
Well, we've
been on for 3 hours and 48 minutes.
We've been recording for 3 hours and 13 minutes.
This is two-parter. You could literally name the first part, the original years, and then the second part, whatever you call it.
I don't think anybody's going to give a shit about our concerts experiences. So why torture them?
I think they will. Well,
this will be our lowest rated episode. I'm going to promote the shit out of this one.
No, it's whenever we do the poll, our rankings or whatever, we think, like when we did the set list, we thought, everybody's going to love this, and crickets. Yeah. And this will do it, because people are going to want to hear us talk about fun stuff.
All right, Andrew, wrap this.
You can find
Brent.
us on Facebook. We are the Fans in Motion podcast and tribute page. Same thing on Instagram. Josh is feverishly working on his
I
Instagram
fucking love
skills.
Instagram, you know.
Oh, by the way, my 19-year-old said Instagram's dying, so
We'll get a TikTok going then.
Yeah.
Also, if you are the best place you can watch us on YouTube, we want you to hit subscribe. We also want you to comment and leave comments for us. We enjoy that. We interact as much as we can. And if you're just listening to us and not watching us, get through all your podcatchers that are out there: iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, AudioMac, Pandora, Amazon. Subscribe and leave a review.
Yeah, let us comment on where you're listening at. Just just leave a comment. I don't care if you guys suck, but just leave a comment there so I know where everybody's listening at. I get some analytics and stuff, but so yeah, and leave your favorite Night Ranger story on YouTube or whatever comment place you want to leave it at, and let us know what your story is, and maybe we'll read a couple on the next episode.
Yeah, and tell a friend. Bring some more people into our little family here. We love it.
Join the Facebook page. Click subscribe.
Somebody's gonna say, "Man, I got to run the lights." I'm like, shut up.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Andy, take us out.
Thank you, everybody, for if you're still listening. Aces to you. You need a life.